She stood at the gate, her sunglasses shining like she owned the sun. "Open the gate now," she barked, waving her manicured hand as if I worked for her. Behind her, a line of SUVs stretched down the quiet lakeside road, people stepping out in fancy clothes, carrying trays of food and bottles. I had no idea who they were, but they acted like this was their private resort. "This is private property," I said, calm but firm. "The gate stays closed." Her name was Linda, but everyone in the neighborhood called her Karen. She ran the local HOA like a small kingdom. A week ago, she'd slipped a fake notice under my door saying, "Residents must share lake access for community events." I laughed it off. My land was outside HOA limits, legally bought and fenced off long before she moved in. But now she was here, standing inches from my face, pretending she had power. "You don't understand," she snapped. "This is a community event. You can't deny access." "I can," I said, unlocking my phone camera. "And I just did." Her lips twitched. "If you don't open that gate in the next 10 seconds, I'll have you fined and evicted." I smiled. "Then better call the cops?" That set her off. She turned to her guests and shouted, "He's threatening us! Someone call the police!" I didn't move. I'd been through worse. My daughter peeked through the window scared, and I gave her a small nod. It was fine. I dealt with louder people before, back when I wore a uniform and carried more than just patience. Within minutes, 2 patrol cars rolled up, lights flashing. Karen rushed toward them like a director on her own stage. "Officer, arrest him! He's blocking community property!" she yelled. One of the cops turned to me. "Sir, can you step forward?" I nodded, handed him my ID and pointed to the steel sign on the gate that read, "Private Land, owned by Jake Miller." Karen laughed, fake and sharp. "He put that sign up himself. The HOA owns this access. I have the paperwork." She waved a folder full of printed pages. I noticed the HOA logo at the top. Something told me she'd made those herself. The officer flipped through them, frowning. Then he looked at me again. "Sir, do you have proof this is your property?" I reached into my pocket and pulled out a folded document, a copy of the deed, signed and stamped years before the HOA even existed. Karen's face froze. "Ma'am," the officer said slowly, "this land isn't under HOA control." But she didn't back down. Instead, she smirked and said, "That can't be right. I know people in City Hall." I almost laughed. "Then maybe call them, because you're about to be on camera trespassing." Something flickered in her eyes then, a mix of rage and fear, and I realized she wasn't leaving until she got what she wanted. And what she wanted was about to cost her everything.
Karen's smile cracked the moment the cops drove off. She'd expected them to drag me away, maybe even unlock the gate for her precious party. Instead, they left with a warning to her. "You'll regret this," she hissed, stepping closer again. "You think that badge in your past still makes you special?" I froze. She wasn't supposed to know that. "Yeah," she whispered, smug. "I checked the records. Ex-military, right? Lost your wife? Raising a kid alone? Sad story, Jake. Maybe you're not stable enough to own a lakefront property." Her words hit harder than I wanted them to, but I didn't show it. "You really did your homework," I said quietly. "Too bad you didn't read the law while you were at it." She turned to her guests, shouting loud enough for everyone to hear, "He's a threat! He's armed!" That made people gasp. Phones came out. Someone actually started dialing 911 again. I lifted both hands, calm, controlled. "No one's armed here," I said, "but you might want to tell your guests to step off my land before they break the law." Karen's face twisted. She was losing control, and she knew it. She stormed back to her car and opened the trunk. Inside were folding tables, coolers, and banners that read, "HOA Summer Celebration." She wasn't leaving. She was setting up, on the gravel road that led right up to my gate. I could hear her giving orders. Set the grill there. Keep the music loud. Make sure he can't ignore us. My daughter came out onto the porch, holding her camera phone, whispering, "Dad, is she allowed to do that?" I looked at the crowd now dancing just feet from our fence. "No," I said, "but she's about to find out how bad it gets when she pushes a man who's been trained not to lose." I went inside, calm but focused. I checked the footage from my security cameras, the ones she didn't know about. Every word, every threat, every fake claim, all recorded. Karen thought she had power because she yelled louder, but I had proof. And proof can burn louder than any lie.
The music got louder, country pop blasting across the lake, echoing off the water like mockery. Karen was dancing now, a wine glass in her hand, pretending nothing was wrong. Her guests laughed, but some looked uneasy, glancing at the cameras along my fence. They knew something wasn't right. I stood by the porch railing, phone in hand, quietly sending the video clips to a friend at the sheriff's office. He and I had served together years ago. I didn't like pulling favors, but this time wasn't about pride. It was about peace. Karen shouted again, her voice cutting through the music. "Hey, soldier boy, come join the party. Oh wait, you weren't invited." Her friends laughed too loud, like they were trying to hide their nerves. I didn't respond. Silence has a way of scaring loud people. Then I heard the sound. Engines. 3 pickup trucks pulling up from the other end of the road. Karen froze mid-laugh when she saw them. The county trucks. Code enforcement. The lead officer stepped out, calm but serious. "Ma'am, we've received multiple reports about an unauthorized gathering on private property." Karen rushed forward, waving her papers again. No, you don't understand. This is HOA land. We're just using our lake access." The officer nodded slowly. "That's strange, because according to county maps, this land belongs entirely to Jake Miller. You're currently trespassing." Her jaw dropped. "That's not possible. I run this neighborhood." He looked past her at the guests. "Everyone not listed on this deed, please step back behind the road line. Now." People began packing up fast. Plates dropped, chairs folded, laughter turned to whispers. The whole show fell apart in seconds. But Karen didn't move. She stood there shaking, staring at me like it was personal. "You did this. You called them. You think you've won?" I walked toward the gate slowly, keeping my voice low. "No, Karen. I didn't win. You just lost what little respect anyone had for you." She blinked, tears forming. Not the sad kind, the angry kind. Then she said something that made everyone stop. "You have no idea who I really am." And I realized she wasn't lying. Karen's voice trembled now, but her eyes burned with something sharp. "You think this is over?" she said. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone. You'll regret that." The officer beside her cleared his throat. "Ma'am, we're going to need to see your identification." She hesitated, then reached for her purse, but instead of pulling out an ID, she pulled out a badge. "I'm with county planning," she snapped. "I have full authority over these developments." The officer took the badge, studied it for a moment, then looked up. "This is fake." The silence that followed was louder than the music had been. Her guests froze. Even the wind seemed to stop moving. Karen's voice broke. "No, it's not. My brother. He works downtown. He said—" "Ma'am," the officer cut her off, "impersonating a government official is a felony. Turn around, please." Her hands shook as the cuffs clicked. The same people who had laughed at her jokes were now filming her arrest. Her perfect party had turned into the one thing she couldn't control, a spectacle she wasn't winning. As they led her to the patrol car, she turned to me. "You ruined me," she spat. I looked her straight in the eye. "No, you did that yourself." When the cars drove off, the lake went quiet again. Just the sound of the water and the wind through the trees. My daughter walked up beside me, slipping her small hand into mine. Is it really over, Dad? I took a deep breath. Yeah, I said softly. Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't make noise. It just brings peace. That night, as the sun set behind the water, I watched the reflection ripple across my land. My land. The same one I'd fought for in more ways than one. I wasn't just defending property. I was defending what was left of the life I built. And somewhere deep down, I knew this wasn't just about a gate. It was about every person who's ever been told they don't belong where they worked hard to stand.